There's something magical about raw talent, isn't there? It's like a spark that doesn't need to shout to be seen, it just glows. That's exactly how Marcus Carter entered the scene. A quiet man with hands that could speak to engines better than most people speak to each other. He wasn't flashy, but boy, could he listen. Not to people, mind you, because they weren't always kind, but to the hums and growls of a motor. It's funny how life works. Sometimes the most gifted among us are the ones who have to fight the hardest just to prove they belong. But let's not sugarcoat it. Joining that prestigious stock car team wasn't a walk in the park for Marcus. Sure, he had skills that could make jaws drop, but talent doesn't always guarantee a warm welcome. The team was a tight-knit group, and let's just say not everyone was thrilled about this new addition. You know how it is when someone different walks into a room, people start whispering, judging before they even know the story. It's like walking into a party where everyone knows each other, and you're the odd one out. Marcus felt that chill right away, but he didn't let it show. Still, there's a lesson here already. Life doesn't hand out golden tickets just because you're good at something. Marcus knew this better than anyone. He kept his head down and let his work do the talking. And isn't that what we all should do? When words fail or when people doubt us, our actions can become our loudest voice. But as Marcus would soon find out, even actions aren't always enough to silence prejudice. Sometimes life gives us those moments where we see the storm coming before anyone else does. That was Marcus' reality during a practice session when his ears caught something off about the engine of the team's prized car. It wasn't just a hunch. It was his gift speaking loud and clear. But here's the kicker: when you're surrounded by egos bigger than the cars themselves, even the truth can fall on deaf ears. Ryan Dawson, the team's golden boy, brushed him off like an annoying fly. After all, what did a simple mechanic know compared to someone born into racing royalty? And then there was Ashley Collins, Ryan's girlfriend, a walking storm of entitlement. She didn't just dismiss Marcus. She cut him down with words sharp enough to leave scars. Jealous, she called him, as if his warning came from envy rather than expertise. It's strange how people often confuse humility with weakness, isn't it? And as if that wasn't enough, Richard Dawson, the team's owner and Ryan's father, added his own condescending remarks to the mix. In their world, hierarchy mattered more than skill, and Marcus was at the bottom of their ladder. But here's the thing about warnings: they don't care if you believe them or not. Marcus stood firm, trying to make them see reason, but he might as well have been shouting into the wind. It's a tough pill to swallow when you know you're right, but no one listens. Yet, life has a way of teaching lessons in its own time. Marcus didn't need to argue. He just needed to wait. And wait he did, because sometimes the truth has a way of roaring louder than any engine ever could. There's a certain irony in life, how arrogance can blind people to the very things that could save them. Marcus, calm as ever, tried one last time to warn them. "Don't take that car out," he said, his voice steady but firm. But instead of listening, they doubled down on their mockery. Ashley rolled her eyes. Andrew Dawson, the team owner's brother, laughed in his face. And then came the cutting blow, a racist remark from Andrew that hung in the air like a bad smell. It was the kind of moment that makes you question how far we've really come as a society. Richard Dawson, caught between hesitation and pressure from his brother, made the call to proceed with the test run. And so, Ryan climbed into the car with all the confidence of someone who thought nothing could touch him. But here's the thing about ignoring warnings: they don't disappear. They just wait for their moment to strike. Minutes later, disaster unfolded before their eyes. The engine failed spectacularly, flames engulfing the car as it hurtled down the track. Chaos erupted as Ryan was pulled from the wreckage, alive but gravely injured. It's a hard truth, but sometimes people only learn through pain. The very thing Marcus tried to prevent had come to pass, and now everyone was scrambling for answers. But isn't it funny how blame is often quicker to find a scapegoat than a solution? Marcus stood there silently, watching it all unfold, not with satisfaction, but with the quiet resignation of someone who knew this was inevitable. And as the smoke cleared, it became painfully obvious that this was only the beginning of an even bigger storm. In moments of chaos, people often look for someone to blame. It's easier than facing the truth. As the team gathered in a frenzy after Ryan's crash, all eyes turned to Marcus. Ashley was the first to pounce, her voice dripping with venom as she accused him of sabotage. Andrew wasn't far behind, his words laced with malice, as if pinning the disaster on Marcus would somehow erase their own mistakes. And Richard, he didn't even hesitate. Fueled by anger and fear for his son, he fired Marcus on the spot, his voice echoing across the garage like a gavel in a courtroom. But Marcus didn't fight back. He didn't shout or plead his case. He simply stood there, calm as ever, and let their accusations roll off him like water off a stone. "I told you to stop," he said quietly before walking away. It was a moment that spoke volumes. Sometimes silence is louder than any argument. Marcus knew the truth would surface eventually, but in that moment, he chose dignity over drama. It's a rare kind of strength, isn't it? To hold your head high when the world is trying to drag you down. As Marcus packed up his tools and prepared to leave, the weight of the situation hung heavy in the air. The team was unraveling, their championship dreams slipping further out of reach with every passing second. But here's the thing about pointing fingers: it doesn't fix anything. The damage was done, and deep down, they all knew it. Yet Marcus walked away with something they couldn't take from him: his integrity. And sometimes that's worth more than any trophy or title. Life has a funny way of opening new doors just when one slams shut, doesn't it? As Marcus packed his belongings, head held high despite the injustice he'd faced, an unexpected figure stepped into the room. William Becker, the owner of Mercedes, a man known for spotting diamonds in the rough, had seen everything unfold. "I know talent when I see it," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. It was one of those rare moments when someone truly sees you for who you are, not where you come from or what others think of you. Marcus hesitated, though. After all, trust doesn't come easy when you've been burned. But William wasn't like the others. He didn't need to shout or belittle to make his point. "Forget what happened today," he told Marcus. "Come work for me," and just like that, a lifeline appeared out of nowhere. Isn't it incredible how one person's belief in you can change everything? Marcus took a deep breath and accepted the offer, knowing this was a chance to start fresh, a chance to show the world what he was capable of. As Marcus walked out of that garage for the last time, there was no bitterness in his heart, only determination. Life had handed him a raw deal, sure, but it also handed him an opportunity. And isn't that what matters most? Not the setbacks we face, but how we rise from them. With Mercedes behind him and a fire in his soul, Marcus was ready to prove that talent and hard work could outshine prejudice any day of the week. There's nothing quite as satisfying as a comeback, is there? Days after leaving his old team behind, Marcus stepped onto the world stage at the Stock Car Championship, this time wearing the sleek uniform of Mercedes. He was no longer the overlooked mechanic in the shadows. He was part of a team that valued his brilliance. As he walked through the paddock, heads turned and jaws dropped. His former employers froze in disbelief, Ashley's smugness replaced with shock, and Richard's face turning a shade of red that no amount of pride could mask. Life has a way of humbling people who underestimate others, doesn't it? Meanwhile, Ryan's team was falling apart. Without Marcus' expertise, their car struggled to even stay in the race. It was poetic justice, a reminder that talent isn't something you can replace with arrogance or entitlement. On the other hand, Marcus was thriving. His sharp instincts and unmatched skill played a crucial role in securing Mercedes' victory that day. The roar of the crowd wasn't just for the drivers, it was for the team behind them, and Marcus had finally earned his place in that spotlight. Isn't it funny how life rewards persistence when you least expect it? But the story didn't end there. William Becker wasn't one to let injustice slide. After Mercedes' triumph, he reported Andrew Dawson's racist remarks to the racing authorities. The result? Ryan's team was expelled from the sport, entirely a fitting end for those who let prejudice guide their decisions. And as for Marcus, he became a legend, sought after by every major racing team in the world. His journey was proof that talent always finds its way, no matter how many obstacles stand in its path. Life has a way of testing us, doesn't it? Marcus' story isn't just about racing or engines, it's about resilience, integrity, and the power of staying true to yourself when the odds are stacked against you. How many times have you felt like Marcus, overlooked or underestimated despite your talents? It's easy to let bitterness take over in those moments, but his journey reminds us that the best revenge isn't anger, it's success. When people doubt you, let your work speak louder than their words. After all, talent and perseverance have a way of silencing even the loudest critics. But here's the real question. How often do we let fear or prejudice cloud our judgment, like Marcus' former team did? Their downfall wasn't just because they ignored him, it was because they let their egos and biases blind them to the truth. It's a lesson for all of us. If we don't open our minds and value others for their abilities rather than our assumptions, we risk losing out on greatness. Think about it. How many Marcuses have you overlooked in your life? And what could you achieve if you stopped letting others' opinions hold you back? So, here's your challenge. Take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Are you fighting to prove yourself like Marcus? Or are you in a position to lift someone else up, like William Becker did? Either way, remember this: your actions today shape not only your future, but also the futures of those around you. If this story inspired you even a little bit, hit the subscribe button and activate notifications so we can keep learning and growing together. Because at the end of the day, every one of us has the potential to be either a Marcus or a Becker in someone's life.